the keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Training camp has been going. It's been going pretty well, but it's time for us to give our honest assessment about how everything in training camp is going and kind of break it down a little bit.
Agreed. We're going to give you an actual honest assessment of what's been going on. And first things first, I got to give you an honest assessment of that sweet merch that Ant has on over there, because that training camp t-shirt is available at 49erscutbackshop.com right now for a limited time, only during training camp. It's a 2021 shirt too, which means it's never going to be up there again. So you need to go cop that right now, because you'll never have another chance. You only got, a little bit of time. So hop on that right away, and then hit the subscribe button after you've purchased your shirt and you're all excited to let us know about it, and hit that notification bell. That way you're here for all of our honest assessments, because we'll have them out throughout training camp, especially when we get to actual training camp ourselves and are able to physically be there when they're in pads and give you even better analysis than some places will give you. But we're going to start with just what's been happening so far in training camp. And one of the big things that has come out, and one of the big things that's been going on, right, is the new look Deebo Samuel, the new look Jimmy Garoppolo, the new look for Brandon Aiyuk. All of these guys look like they're in really, really great shape. Brandon Aiyuk has put on muscle. He's gotten bigger. He's gotten stronger. Deebo Samuel looks like he's been in the best shape of his life. He talked about the yoga and the different stuff that he's been doing to keep his body right, keep himself loose so he can get in and out of his breaks, get the footwork down right and down pat. And we talked a little bit earlier, weeks ago, months ago, Jimmy Garoppolo, when he came in for OTAs, the new look Jimmy, that's not just translating to physical appearance, it's translating to attitude as well.
It is, and I think that is a real takeaway we can have from this, is also the body chemistry that Jimmy Garoppolo talked about having with Brandon Aiyuk. He can tell what Brandon Aiyuk is going to do by his body, what he's doing, how he's running his routes, the way he's moving. That is something that Joe Montana talked about with Jerry Rice often, is when you get a quarterback that has that, kind of chemistry with the receiver, to be able to read it and know what he's going to do before he does it. That's when you are going to have these big plays, because then you're able to play with anticipation. You're able to beat coverage. So that is a very big takeaway. Also, the fact that he's having that chemistry with Jimmy Garoppolo. They didn't have that chemistry with Trey Lance yet, even though they work together. That is something that needs to be developed, but he has it with Jimmy Garoppolo. That is a good sign for Jimmy Garoppolo, a good sign for the 49ers about how this offense is going to trend, because we already know Jimmy Garoppolo's had a lot of success with Deebo Samuel. If he's going to have more success with Brandon Aiyuk, because that was a question. They didn't play a lot together last year, but they developed this late in the season in practice when Jimmy was, recovering from the ankle. They were still able to get work in, and that is going to benefit the 49ers this year.
Agreed, 100%. It's going to benefit them tremendously. It's going to benefit Jimmy a lot too, because if Jimmy is able to have that kind of chemistry, just body chemistry with Brandon Aiyuk, it's going to translate into on-field production, and it's going to translate into trust. And it's one of my big things with Jimmy Garoppolo, right, is if he can learn to trust his wideouts and take a few more 50-50 ball shots downfield, this offense could explode and go to a whole nother level, because by adding in the vertical run game to this run team, this run first identity that the 49ers have had now for the last few years, you add the vertical run game in, makes it more diverse. You add the vertical pass game in, and now you're taking the field and not just stretching it horizontally, but stretching it vertically. And again, there's too many things. At some point, the defense breaks one way or the other. They break vertically, it's big plays and touchdowns. They break horizontally, it's big runs that could turn into touchdowns, but that are for sure going to keep drives going.
The key is making sure the defenders have to cover grass, cover a lot of space. So you want some guys that are going to stretch it vertically, some guys are going to stretch it horizontally. If you can make defenders cover all the grass in that box, then you can have opportunities to make plays underneath or over the top, depending on what is available, depending on coverage and personnel. That is what you're looking to take advantage of. Early on in training camp, that's what you're getting, right? You're getting, I know we've heard reports that, Jimmy Garoppolo is only throwing 5-yard passes on checkdowns. That is some of what is being asked. If you go through the kind of the scenario, or the sequence of events, right, that you're going through the plays, you'll notice that a lot of the checkdowns and stuff happened early on. A lot of the deep plays and outside passes, outside the numbers, happen later. They're going through a progression as they're going through an install. It's the OTA install. This is normal. Don't read too much into what is happening completion-wise. Completion percentage, It doesn't matter. It also doesn't matter for Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo, either one of them. What you're looking for is, are they executing the plays the right way? Are they getting the ball to the guys that Kyle Shanahan wants them to go to? Right now, I'm sure you're going to see a lot of times where they're throwing to a certain target. They have a certain look they're looking for. So other than that, you don't really want to read too much into it. My honest assessment about how that's going so far is they're progressing nicely in training camp as far as the passing game, and I'm not so concerned that this great defense is making great plays against this 49ers offense.
Correct, and that's the other thing that you need to take into account here is the defense. And some of the things that haven't been highlighted and haven't been talked about as much as they should has been the performance of this defense so far. They have looked really, really good. They've looked really, really solid. Now, granted, some of that is going to be because they're not in pads, right? A little bit harder to get your hands on somebody when they're thinner. They don't have the bulky shoulder pads. They don't have the breastplate to grab onto and that chest plate. If you don't have those things, offensive line job's a little bit harder, which makes the job harder for the offense, job's harder for the quarterback. So again, as Ant pointed out and talked about already, you can't read too much into it. I do like the fact that our elite, stout, great defense that's really good at putting pressure is putting pressure on our quarterbacks and making things difficult for them. That is one thing that has come out. And so I'm excited about that because you would hope right now, especially with the O-line trying to get everything figured out and a rookie quarterback trying to get himself situated, that there would be times where they're struggling.
Yeah, and Fred Warner talked a little bit about Alex Mack, that chess match that they're going to have. That is going to be something that's going to be great to watch. You have the personal matchups, the one-on-ones, the Nick Bosa versus Trent Williams or, the D Ford or whatever. But that matchup, cerebral-wise, is something that's going to be important, not only for the defense but the offense. They're going to both be trying to defeat each other by moving pieces around before the snap. That is going to be something that's going to be great to watch. It's going to be great for this team as they move forward. But you're right, watching some of the defensive drills and stuff like that, the 49ers look good at the top, and then they have a lot of depth. Right now, they're missing players. They've had guys that are on COVID or, a couple guys nicked up, yet the backups are going out there and playing solid. Remember, we're having great defensive days with someone like Tim Harris playing corner right now. We know that the young guys we're going to have to learn and develop. They are still learning this system. You can't expect Aubrey Thomas and Deommodore Lenoir, Talanoa Hufanga to go out there and execute in a high level as a rookie, especially this early in training camp. They're in install part 2. This is OTAs redone. They're doing it again. That's what you do with installs. They're making sure they have everything down. So these guys are learning, and as they learn, they will develop and they'll move up this depth chart. But right now, you got guys who are veterans that understand the system that are getting that playing time. So once again, honest assessment, everything is up to par as far as the status of how things are going, both defensively and offensively, schematically.
And signing-wise, too. Because
True.
They bring in and sign Jordan Matthews, a guy that we've been saying kind of would be a tight end option that made sense. He can fit into that Jordan Reed kind of mold at the tight end position that you're looking for. Cole Pruitt goes down, and now he gets signed. So this is definitely, things are kind of trending the way of the 49ers and the way that we kind of foresaw them to trend. Marcel Harris being a guy now that's going to be, primarily playing the linebacker position throughout training camp was another thing that we had talked about and teased as that being a possibility and something they would look at. And it looks like they're all in on it. So nothing really that has happened so far surprises any of us. It doesn't surprise anyone here on this podcast. It's actually relieving to see that a lot of these things are playing out the way we kind of thought they were, because for us, it means a few things. One, everything is going according to the plan that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have laid out. And two, we do, in fact, maybe do have our finger on the pulse of what's going on with this team and what the plan is going forward. And that's great for us because now when we get to training camp ourselves, we're going to have certain things that we're going to be wanting to watch for and seeing if those things pan out.
Yeah, it's hard to read too much into what is going on without pads.
Right.
All you can do is know that as a coach, you have a certain way of installing, a certain way of getting your players out there. A front office is still looking to bring in players that are going to make your team better, whether that is through free agency or if there's cuts or whatever there is. Sometimes you have to adjust and move laterally when there's an injury or something like that. So far, Cole Pruitt, opened the door. Jordan Matthews has walked through that door. Can he keep the door shut on Cole Pruitt? I don't know yet. I don't know if ultimately they're going to cut Pruitt or what it is. If they do, then they have moved on. But it's going to be interesting to see how they use Jordan Matthews in this offense. If they line him up in line and let him play a tight end behind, these great tight ends they already have, great tight end George Kittle, and then a very serviceable tight end in Ross Dwelley. Is he in an actual competition, with a Charlie Warner? That is something to watch. I think that obviously the 49ers do this better than anyone as they go out and they make moves that fit their system, fit their scheme, and help their team develop. So, do they have the best 90-man roster? Probably right now. Yeah, I think you'd be hard pressed to tell me otherwise. But I do enjoy what I'm seeing so far. The limited amount of video I saw from camp, I did watch a 30-minute section. I think it was like 35 minutes that I got to see, and this is what happens week one. You can't read too much into it. That's one thing I will tell you. You can't read too much into it. Alex knows this as a coach. Week one is everyone getting their legs under them, everyone getting used to being back out there playing football. And then as it progresses, and like you said, as we get into pads, that's when you kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
I love that right there. Kick the tires and light the fires, because that's what you're doing. Right now, as Bud Kilmer would say, stick to the basics, stick to the basics, stick to the basics. That's all this is right now.
Yeah.
Basics, basics, basics. Drilling in those EDDs, getting those everyday drills down pat, solid, getting you back into football season mindset and mentality. This is what we're doing every day. This is the drill. We're here to perfect things. We're here to perfect skills. We're here to perfect techniques. That's what the early part of this year is. That's what preseason is for. Perfecting the basics.
Yep.
So that way, when you get into season, when you're in the dog days of the season, when you're 8 games in, you're not having to go back and refresh and get your mind right on the basics of football. You don't want to have to think about the basic things you're supposed to do every day, right? Getting in your position, your stance, knowing your read keys, what you're supposed to be reading, proper technique and shuffling if you're a linebacker down the line and flowing downhill towards the ball, if you're a DB and you're playing press coverage, where your hand placement's supposed to be on your press, where you should be lining up on certain coverages on downs and distances. Those things need to be ingrained now, right now. Yep. You have to have those things down pat. You can't be thinking about those things when you get into week 6, week 7, week 8. You can't be thinking about those things in week 3. Ideally, you don't want them thinking about it in week 1, right? But if you got a rookie starting, you may have to have some of those things, that some of those things they're going to be thinking about. Right now is the time to get the basics perfected, or as close to perfect as possible. So that way you can focus on the complex stuff, getting into season, disguises, shell coverages, things like that. And again, film study. Film study is going to take up a lot of time. Having to learn a new person's schemes, right? A new team's, a new coordinator's tendencies each and every week, that's a lot in and of itself. And if you're a coaching staff, if you're having to spend your time making sure your basics are cleaned up, on top of film preparation, on top of trying to figure out what a team or your opponent's tendencies are offensively and defensively, not to mention if you want to take it to Belichickian levels of craziness, breaking down the officiating crew that you have and how often they call holdings or PIs on what teams, what plays, what downs. I mean, there are so many different ways that you can look at the game and break the game down. If you're having to spend that on basics, you're falling behind.
Right now is all about technique and verbiage. You're just trying to learn the techniques, make sure you have it down pat, and then get that verbiage with it. Understanding what you're hearing when you hear a play call or what you're hearing when a coach is talking to you is one of the most important things. For some of these guys, it feels like the coach is speaking alien at first, and he's trying to figure it out. And once he does, then it all makes sense and it all clicks. But until then, you don't. And that's why you don't see any of these rookies high on the depth chart right now. They were talking about Kyle Shanahan was talking about Tom Compton and Daniel Brunskill, and he was saying Brunskill came in looking great. And Brunskill did last year as well, but also that Compton's looked a lot improved. What we didn't hear a lot about was Aaron Banks, and that is to be expected. Will Aaron Banks close this gap? Yes, he's a great player, and he's going to do it, but he's a rookie, and he's learning through this install process. You don't go from 0 to 100 when you're learning an install. You have to take the steps. You have to go through the right ways. The 49ers are going to make sure they teach it the right way. If you don't skip steps, you get everyone where they need to be. So once again, honest assessment of how the 49ers coaching staff is handling these rookies and handling this, they're doing fantastic. This is exactly where you want the team to be as far as getting them in the right places, learning the right things. This is how you structure training camp. This is how a training camp is supposed to look. This is how it's supposed to function. Kyle Shanahan's done a lot, and he's not just a guy that goes out there and coaches and then calls plays. He has to make sure everything is in order, right? He's in charge of every single assistant coach. He's in charge of every single meeting, making sure he has relationships with the players. He's doing a lot, and he's executing at a high level. I don't think we can be any more happy than we should be for what Kyle Shanahan is doing. He's doing a fantastic job, and we should be happy with the way camp is looking early on. I don't want to jump too far into it, but as far as where we're at on things, there's no negative about this training camp right now. If you can find negative, you're looking for it. I haven't been able to find negative from this training camp so far.
Not much at all. And you know what else? Can't find a lot of negative on this channel typically either. So make sure you subscribed. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell as well. That way you're notified for our daily videos at 11 a.m. Our surprise videos, sometimes that come out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Our live streams on Fridays. And just other eventual content and things that are going to be coming up and coming out, because you don't want to miss any of it. We got tons of things to talk about. There's tons of things to cover with training camp coming up. And also don't forget to go to the Cutback Shop, 49ers Cutback Shop right now. You can cop your training camp gear, your training camp gear, and as well as other 49ers inspired content and shirt ideas. It's a lot of great stuff over there. It's a lot of great stuff on this channel coming up as well.
Yeah, you want to commemorate Trey Lance's rookie season in training camp with a training camp shirt from the 49ers. 49ers training camp 2021. Make sure you get it. This is his first time in camp. This is going to be, the one time. So
it's his last time as his first time.
Yeah, so commemorate it with it, with a nice shirt. They're available in 3 colors, so check them out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is what it's about. Training camp is about building for the season. They're doing it the right way. I just love the fact that they're taking everything in order. I love that fans are back out there. There's a different energy. It feels like the players are playing with a different energy. The coaches are coaching with a different energy. And it feels nice. 2021 is different from 2020, and I like it. Let's have a clean break. Let's move on into 2021, and let's have some success. Once we get out to training camp, me and you will be able to really break this down further and bring a lot of analysis, and I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be exciting. It's exciting times in the cutback. It's exciting times for the faithful. It's exciting times for the 49ers. The fans bring in the energy. The faithful bring the energy to the 49ers. The cutback crew doing the same thing here. There's a symbiotic connection there. It's almost like everything's 49ers related. It's crazy. But until the next video and until next time, 49ers fans, you stay safe.
And remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.